resuming my work on the garden today. Um, I started working on the fountain, and basically, I've never done one before. So basically, they had basically a hole in the center of the fountain. What I've done is I fished in a 26 millimeter pipe through it. I'm going to connect it up to a 1 inch or 32 millimeter pipe, and basically run that piping into the garage, and then have a pump in there, and that will suck in the water and then return the water. I also have an overflow drain, which I am basically just going to run some PVC pipe and run it into our trench. Also, what I'm looking at doing is finishing up all the irrigation. So I have 16 zones in the backyard, and I've done about half of the garden. They're all just sort of there. They need to be buried. But the amount of hose and the amount of connection is pretty crazy. Another thing I've been doing is using a tiller I got a new one, a little more heavy duty, and it seems to do an amazing job of doing trenches. So basically, this soil, even if you wet it down, even within I don't know a couple hours, it dries out right away. Apparently, we're on top of an underground aquifer around here, and I guess it just drains into it. It does something. I don't know. Crazy how dry and how quickly the soil becomes dry. It's nuts. So chipping through it by hand with a pickaxe. Last summer towards the fall, I broke my hand on the edge, kind of along there, just from hitting so hard with a pickaxe. So I'm finding the tiller works really well. So I've pretty much done all the digging at this point. I have a little more to do around where I'm going to put access panels around things, and some of the pipes where I want a drain access so I can clean it out if I need to. I've got a couple of those left to do, but otherwise, for the most part, I have all the trenches and I have all the pathways at the right height, thanks to the digger, or the tiller, actually. But for this year, the goal is to get this walkways and patio poured, hopefully by the end of June, realistically mid-July, and get all this dirt. And behind me, I've got lots of rocks and dirt, and we're going to get rid of that. And just kind of get all this wood that's been used for the forms, and because that's going to be used for our noggin. So we want to, once we get the concrete down, pull those all up, and then I can start working on the inside, which will probably be more in the hottest time of the year, which is probably better. We don't have a kitchen, we don't have a good bathroom. It's a pretty grim inside of the house, so we might as well have something nice outside since we're this far along. So last fall, or after actually Christmas time, I went home and I found that my mother was not well. She'd fallen and broken her hip, and she wasn't recovering as quickly as we wanted to. So it's kind of cost me 2 months. It's not a big cost, but still, it's kind of delayed what we wanted to be. I was expecting this to be done kind of in March, and I would have gone on to doing the electrics in the main bathroom in the house, and just start doing other stuff, and the AC and heat pumps and the water heater and all that good stuff. So a bit delayed on that, but we're going to continue out here, finish this up, hopefully by the end of the month, as it's just the beginning of June now. And hopefully we can get to getting this poured. I'm also going to have fill basically on the back of the pool, the skimmer. Basically, when I turn the irrigation on, it's going to put water into it. I just don't want to be dragging the hose out and filling the pool up. Not a lot, but probably about every 2 or 3 weeks, because there's so much evaporation here, because especially in the summertime. Yeah, I've also been generating a ton and having to build and cut and chop a bunch of stakes for all the edges of all the concrete forms. It's crazy how I'm gonna need so many. Mostly going to be making a bunch for around this fountain. So what I have to do is do one kind of about every half a meter. So a little space all the way along, because I'm going to use flexible um, plywood, about 5 millimeters, and then basically backfill it with dirt so that it doesn't push away. But I've also have spikes behind it, and it's an awful lot of spikes I'm making. That needs it. So on to doing this. So I've got about probably another 200 stakes to drive in, which are extremely difficult in this soil. So what I end up doing now is I have a large diameter concrete drill bit that I just basically pre-drill all the spike holes. It doesn't make it super easy, but it allows me to get those hardwood spikes into the ground. So another thing is we got to get rid of all this dirt. Just moving that 2.5 centimeters of dirt made a massive pile behind me. All of that basically is just from removing 2.5 centimeters. So my original calculations were, because we have the forms, which are about 7 centimeters deep, I kind of calculated the volume for we're going to put all the hoses in for the irrigation system. I calculated the volume we needed, about 4 or 5 cubic meters, just to do. It doesn't look like much, but it's deceiving just how much dirt you generate when you're digging out these walkways and patios and whatnot. So we're going to be ordering about 13 tons of gravel. Basically, when you're putting that down on the bottom layer, and then basically that'll be probably in about 2 or 3 weeks, hopefully. And then we're going to get the rebar and the plastic installed and get working on getting it ready for pouring. But for now, I have to run all the pipes that are going to go under all the concrete, and I want to just kind of test that the fountain works. I hooked it up to the water from the irrigation system. We've got really high water pressure here, so it shot up like 20 feet in the air. It was pretty funny. I didn't expect it. But basically, I want to make sure that plumbing all works going in and out. And then I've ordered some epoxy paint for pools. And you mix it, and it kind of fills in cracks and makes it completely waterproof. So I'm going to coat the bottom and most of the sides of the fountain with that. But before that, I'm going to pour some self-leveling concrete with some fiber in it, and basically that'll level out the bottom of the fountain. I have a hole in it that's going to be used for extracting the water, and I just have kind of a filter that you put on the end of a well pump, just basically a brass thing with a metal screen on it. We just poke that through and have it come out the side, and we already have the original old overflow drain, which is that I'm going to use for just have it run out if it ever overflows, which I doubt it will, into the gully near the garage. So that's kind of the plan for now. And then obviously I have to do a lot more work putting in the French drain, and I also have to fill in some of the holes toward at least the lower half of them, so that when we pour, I've got the stone and lime mortar in that small section, and then I've got to chip off all the concrete around the side of the fountain, and then I'm going to point it, at least the lower sections once again, where the concrete's going to go up to it, with lime mortar. Not really required, but they've just done such a horrible job, I might as well redo it anyway. So that's some of the stuff I've been doing this week and last week. Actually, it's getting pretty sad. I've been digging dirt. I'm really tired of it for 6 months. Driving me mental. I want to be done with this garden, at least for this year. But anyways, that's where we are right now. So thanks for watching, and I hope you find this interesting. If people do, I'll keep doing it. If not, maybe I won't.